It has been almost 3 years since the gas leak explosion that killed a 12-year-old girl in Dallas. She died in the third explosion that happened in a span of 3 days in a northwest Dallas neighborhood. And in the aftermath, Atmos Energy evacuated hundreds of homes and replaced miles and miles of pipe in that area. Well, today the National Transportation Board met to discuss what they have learned about this tragedy. I want to bring in investigative reporter Tanya Iser, who's covered this story for years. Tanya, what were the NTSB's findings?
Well, NTSB officials concluded that they didn't adequately investigate those first two explosions. They said it was highly unlikely to have two explosions in a 2-day span, and that should have necessitated a different response.
So what did the NTSB say should have happened after those first two explosions, before the third one that ended up killing 12-year-old Michelita?
Well, in their view, NTSB officials say that Atmos should have shut down the gas in that neighborhood after those first two explosions, evacuated the neighborhood, and then tried to figure out what was happening, particularly given that at that point they were having a real difficulty with their monitoring equipment due to all the rainfall we had had during that time. As the NTSB board chair said today, it was a failure of imagination, of the worst that could happen. In this case, it was the deadly explosion, a deadly happening.
You mentioned rainfall. Following the 3 explosions, Atmos hired a consultant that concluded geologic conditions and a lot of rainfall created underground conditions that could not have been predicted or foreseen. What does the NTSB say about that conclusion from the consultant hired by Atmos?
Well, Cynthia, you'll recall that the NTSB brought in the Corps of Engineers, and they did a lot of digging in that area, and they took out core samples. And what they found is that the soil conditions and the movement that we saw was predictable and should have been part of an integrity management program for Atmos. And one NTSB official said, and this is an exact quote, "It may have been sudden and unexpected to Atmos because they were not looking for it, but it should have been a part of their program."
Okay, we look forward to hearing more from you in the coming days. Tanya Iser reporting live tonight. Thanks, Tanya.